Welcome back, everyone. My name is Pat Micone. I'm the president of the Republican Club of Laguna Woods, and I'm here with my colleague, Kendall, who's our vice president of programs. And this is our show, Light on America. And with our show, we plan to bring you the facts and truths of the day that you may not be hearing and seeing in your mainstream media, facts that dispel misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. So we're glad to be back here with our special guest, Bryan Horsman, and bring you part two, where we felt we have so much more to share with you about Honor Flight Southland.
Thank you very much for having me back, Pat and Ro.
Thank you, Bryan. Thank you. So where did we leave off? We were kind of getting to the point where the veterans were coming back.
Yeah,
and we have this opportunity as a community to welcome them if we want to. So tell us more.
Yeah, so we went through a sample trip and itinerary. I'd like to let you all know about what the residents of Laguna Woods could do also to help support Honor Flight Southland and our mission. Well, first and foremost, if you are a veteran that served between December 7th, 1941 and the end of the Vietnam War, come on a trip with us. Go to our website, honorflightsouthland.org, and complete an application to get on our list. There is a big misconception amongst our veterans that you can only go if you were a combat veteran. Not true. Any veteran who served between the beginning of World War II and the end of Vietnam, no matter what capacity, you do not have to have served in combat. You do not have to have served in country. As long as you were serving during that time frame, we want to take you on a trip and honor you for your service.
That's good to know.
You very easily could have been in a combat role. And there were many roles within the military that were supporting roles that were just as vital as the combat veteran. So we want to honor that service, and we'll take you on a mission. So if you go to honorflightsouthland.org, complete an application, you'll get on our list. We give first priority to World War II and Korean War veterans. That usually takes up about 10 seats on our 36-seat plane. The remaining seats go to our Vietnam-era veterans. And we choose them in order of when they sent their application in. So very important, get your application in as quickly as possible. We have two upcoming flights, May 16th through the 18th of 2025, and then September 19th to the 21st of 2025.
Okay.
The next thing you can do is volunteer. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We are all volunteers on the Honor Flight Southland team. None of us get paid, and so we need volunteers to help us with our mission. I mentioned last month the role of the Guardian. That's a great way to help volunteer. Every veteran takes a guardian along with them. Generally, it's a son, daughter, grandchild, niece, nephew. But for those veterans that don't have a guardian to go along with them, a family member, we tap into our volunteer guardians. I started off as a volunteer guardian. Many of our Honor Flight teams started off as volunteer guardians. And it's a wonderful way to volunteer. It is absolutely life-changing to be able to come on a trip with a veteran, and the guardian's role is essential to the veteran's experience because you are their person for the trip. You may be pushing wheelchairs, you may be making sure they're taking their medication or drinking water or just ensuring their overall safety.
Well-being.
You start with them from the minute you get to LAX on that early Friday morning, and you are with them every step of the way until you put them in the car when you get home Sunday night. So you travel with them, you are on the buses with them, you room with them, you eat with them, you are their family member.
Wow.
And we don't expect the role of the guardian to be a one-time deal. It is very common that the bond that is formed between the guardian and the veteran is a very special one, and it goes into being a member of their family. And I've been a guardian 3 times. I still stay in contact with all 3 of my veterans. We're all still very close. So it's a really wonderful experience that I highly recommend everybody have.
Bryan, can you speak to the fact, I mean, I know that spouses do not go on the trip.
Yes. So that is one of our few restrictions. And it really kind of dates back to the beginning of Honor Flight as a network, when spouses did go on the flight. And what we found was that the veteran became more focused on their spouse. Is their spouse having a good time?
Yeah.
And they were not, we want the experience to be about the veteran, and we want the focus to be on the veteran. And we also found that the veterans are much more free and willing to commiserate with their other veteran friends that they make on the trip, much more so than they would if maybe their spouse was on the trip.
Yeah.
Plus, spouses could use a weekend away from their veteran anyway.
Yeah,
so.
a little break.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our one restriction.
Yeah,
There is no
right.
spouses.
Yeah, thank you.
So another way you could help volunteer is by trip planning. Help us with our trip planning. There's a lot that goes into.
Yeah, what does that involve?
There's a lot that goes into putting together one of our trips. So you're free to join a committee to help us plan our trips out, whether it's helping with the food or helping with our mail call, or there's a vast ways that you could help by helping us put together one of these trips. You can go onto our website, complete an application, and we will definitely put you to use. You could also volunteer for our LAX ground crew. We need help checking in our veterans, making sure that they get to the proper gate that we need them to get to.
As they're going out.
Absolutely. And when we come home, we need volunteers to help wrangle the cat, so to speak, to make sure everyone's going in the correct direction, help collect wheelchairs. There's a lot of moving parts that make these trips happen, and
See that.
we couldn't do it without the help of our volunteers. And our board members, we're a small group of very, very dedicated individuals, but we need help. We can't do it all on our own.
Yeah, good.
As I mentioned, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, so we receive no government funding of any sort. So another way that residents can help is by donating funds. We are, as I mentioned, 100% run by volunteers. None of us get paid. And our cost is approximately $2,500 per veteran to go on the trip.
Wow.
We do ask our guardians to pay a fee in terms of a donation, and then Honor Flight does cover the rest of their.
Okay, because they're rooming with the.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that covers the flights, it covers the food,
Yeah.
the transportation, it covers everything.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. The only thing we're not paying for is souvenirs or drinks at the bar.
Yes.
Everything else Honor
Yeah.
Flight covers.
Okay. I want to remind our villagers and our members, the club members, that considering the cost of $2,500 per veteran, what we're doing at our monthly meetings, we have an opportunity fund, and half of the fund goes to Honor Flight Southland. And we have an average of about $200 a month that we are giving back. And at the end of the year, we love to present it to Honor Flight Southland. And the other half, our members get to take home $40 here and there. And many of them are now donating that money
Donate it
back to Honor Flight Southland. So we're really proud of our members, and we're excited now that we have a focus and we have a purpose, right, Ro?
Absolutely.
And we've
It's
been very
fantastic.
blessed with
Yeah.
the generosity of your club and your group and the members who, in the last meeting, it seems everybody who won the raffle donated it back.
Yes,
And so
yes.
we are very honored and we are very blessed by
Yes.
and very grateful for your
Yes.
generosity. And
Our
couldn't
eyes
thank
have
you
been
enough.
open to what you do and how much, and we have so many veterans in our village, so many people who can benefit. So we hope one of our purposes will be to get the word out and hopefully get more of our villagers being
Yes.
able to go on the flight.
Yeah.
Or another option, which you'll be talking about in a minute,
Yeah.
if they can't go on the flight.
Yes. So another thing that your villagers could do is they could write letters of thanks to our veterans. Our veterans, what people don't realize today is that our veterans didn't have text messaging and email and cell phones. Their way of communicating with their family and friend was through an actual written letter. That might seem very foreign to some of our younger citizens these days,
But not to us.
So what we like to do, and we conspire a little bit with some of the family members, is to get letters of thanks for our veterans. And every veteran gets a mail call packet that they receive on the trip to.
That's a big package
It's
they
a big
get.
packet. And some of them have received 2 of them.
Look
And
at how
so
happy he is.
they are. And what's interesting here, Pat, is that if you've ever been to summer camp, and you start hearing mail call, and you start hearing the names, our veterans know that mail call is communication with their family, and they remember that from when they were serving, and they get so excited and they sit on the edge of their seat hoping they're going to hear their name called.
Yes.
And every veteran
Anticipation.
gets a lovely packet of letters from family, from friends, from organizations, American Legions and DAR and certain groups that like to write letters to our veterans
Yes.
just to thank them for their
Yes.
service, wish them well on their trip.
Yeah.
They love getting letters from school kids. School kids will draw pictures and put them in there. And
Yeah.
it's a wonderful way to honor our veterans and to begin their tour of honor. And
Yes.
I always say that you could tell when they start cutting onions in the front of the plane, because there's a lot of tears that kind of filter their way back. And I had a veteran tell me one time, and this is how much these letters mean to them. He said, I always knew my kids loved me, but to have an actual, and he showed me the letter, to have an actual handwritten letter from them telling me that they love me, this is something I'll cherish for the rest of my life. It means a lot to them. And to have a letter from somebody thanking them for their service means a lot to them.
Yes, and also for us writing the letters,
Yes.
it helps remind us what they've done, how they've served,
Yes.
and how to honor them. And for children, to teach them more, they're really learning about
Absolutely, yeah.
patriotism.
Yes. Another way, as we mentioned earlier, is you can come to the airport to welcome our veterans home. We like to do a huge welcome home for our veterans, and this is a way for the public to come and participate in an honor flight experience, and that is to welcome our veterans home, give them the welcome that they should have received when they got back from serving. Our World War II veterans, when they got home, there was the big parade down Fifth Avenue, but that was basically the only welcome they got. They got off the train and went back to the farms, or they went back to their schools or their families and went about their life. Our Korean War veterans came home and they were pretty much just forgotten about. It's called the Forgotten War for a reason. We forgot about them. And for our Vietnam War veterans, as you know from history, they were not treated very well when they got home.
Right.
They did not get a welcome home. They were shouted at and they were protested and they were called awful names. And they've lived with this memory for the last 55 plus years.
So disrespected.
And what we like to do is we like to undo that memory for them. We want to change this memory with something positive. So when they get home from their tour of honor with Honor Flight Southland, we fill the airport terminal with people holding handmade signs and waving flags, and we have a bagpipe and drummer lead them through the crowd
A bagpipe.
and give them the welcome home that they truly deserve. Now, a way for your residents to participate and for anybody in the public to come and participate is our next trip is May 18th.
Okay.
We'll get home at about 4 p.m., 4:30. It's one of the few times we've been able to get home at a decent hour. Usually it's 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
But this is in the middle of the afternoon. We'll be arriving at Southwest Airlines Terminal 1 at LAX at the baggage
Okay.
claim.
Okay.
Come, welcome our veterans home. Yes,
And that's a Sunday, right?
that's a Sunday.
Yeah, that makes it
Yeah.
good.
Bring your signs, bring your flags, bring a lot of tissue because it is an emotional thing to experience.
Yes.
I've been on several flights. I've experienced
Oh my God.
several welcome homes, and I get choked up every time.
Yes, yes.
And to see the response
Yes.
of our veterans as they come off that elevator and they see this crowd of people there welcoming them, it's a wonderful experience and one that I highly recommend everybody participate in.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll have to look into that, right, Ro?
Yeah, we'll
have
see how to organize it. when-
Yes.
Bring a crew down there.
Yeah.
Be a
It'll be
wonderful
so much
experience.
fun.
That would be wonderful, and it'll be very addicting. You're going to want to come back every time because
And that's a good thing.
it's a wonderful
Yeah.
experience.
And we hope that we can get many of our veterans, members of veterans,
Yes.
to go
Yeah.
on these trips
Yes.
Yeah, that would be
next
wonderful.
year.
Yes.
you mentioned to us earlier about a virtual experience. Do you want to
Yes.
talk about that now, or is it coming up?
We could talk about that now. So we have a virtual reality program now. So for our veterans that, for whatever reason, usually health reasons, they're not able to make the trip with us, that should not exclude them from experiencing their tour of honor. So we bring the tour to them. And so we had a donor donate these virtual reality goggles, and this is a way for our veteran to experience an honor flight trip, abridged, obviously, we can't fit 3 days into one 10-minute presentation, but this is a way for them to get to see the memorials that were built for them. It is geared towards their specific service. So World War II veterans get to see the World War II program, Korea, and Vietnam. So this way, they can experience a tour of honor from the comfort of their own home. We'll come to them. And they get all of the freebies and everything that we give out to our veterans on the trip during this. So here's a picture of one that we did last week of a 96-year-old World War II veteran.
96,
Yeah.
wow.
And the honor flight team came out and gave him his birthday party and his tour of honor.
Oh, you give him a birthday party
Well, it was
too?
his birthday.
Oh, it was his
Yeah.
birthday, okay.
That was in
okay.
conjunction with his birthday party.
I see,
so-
okay.
That's
Wow.
fantastic.
Yeah. And they get the welcome home that they should get. We all
Yeah.
cheer for them when they're done with their program.
That is
But
awesome.
it's a really cool way for them to experience an honor flight trip without having to make the trip. We want people to come on the trip, but for those that can't, this is an option for them as
Yes,
well.
that's
We'll come to them.
fabulous. How many do you do of those a year?
So this is actually just really kind of
Okay,
getting
you're
some
just starting.
start. I believe this was probably our third or fourth one that we've done
Okay.
since we got the goggles.
Okay.
It's getting the word out, getting people to know that this option is available to them.
Well, I'm glad we're doing this, so
Yeah.
we can get the word
Yes.
out.
Yes. So I get the question a lot, why do I volunteer for Honor Flight Southland? What is it about this organization that's so meaningful, and why am I so passionate about it? Coming on these trips with all these veterans, it's very humbling, and for me, it's slightly embarrassing to admit to them that I did not serve in the military. It was a decision that I've regretted quite often. Serving on Honor Flight Southland is my opportunity to serve my country by serving those that did. There is a wonderful quote by the humorist Will Rogers. Can I have the next slide, please? Who said, "We can't all be heroes. Some of us have to stand on the curb and clap as they go by." And so it is in that spirit that I stand on that curb through Honor Flight Southland, and I clap for our veterans as they go by. I clap for veterans like Jack McDowell. Jack served in the U.S. Marine Corps. He was part of the famous Montfort Point Marines. He was part of the first integrated Marine Corps unit in World War II. Jack went on to serve in the end of World War II, went on to Korea where he was wounded, and went on to Vietnam where he received a catastrophic injury to his leg and then retired as a first sergeant.
Wow.
Jack was awarded 3 Purple Hearts and the Bronze Star, and most recently received the Congressional Gold Medal.
Oh, my. World War II Korea. Wow.
I do it for veterans like Solomon Schwartz. Solomon was in the Army when the Japanese invaded the Philippines. He survived the Bataan Death March, was sent to a Japanese hell ship, and was then sent to work in the mines of Nagasaki.
Wow.
And you heard me right, Nagasaki.
Oh, my.
Solomon was in the mines when the atomic bomb was dropped over the city. And when he came out of the mines to see the destruction of what was left behind, he looked around and he said, "I am the luckiest man in the world."
Wow. And how old is he here?
I don't know.
Yeah, but he's older. I mean, he survived that, and without, he survived that.
Yes.
Wow. Amazing.
I do it for veterans like Tim Doss. Tim served in the U.S. Army in Vietnam. He was my 3rd veteran that I served as a guardian for. I do it for veterans like Ezekiel Contreras. Zeke was 100 years young when he came on his honor flight just a couple flights ago.
Oh, my.
served in the U.S. Army in World War II. And what's interesting about this photo is that this is the first time Zeke had ever been on an airplane in 100 years.
Oh my God, because when they came back from World War II, my dad, they came up
He came on
across
boats.
a ship.
Yes. So 100 years old, this
His
was the first time he was on a
airplane.
plane. So this is the pilot with him. I do it for guys like Ralph Gonzalez. Ralph served in the U.S. Navy in World War II. So you might be asking yourself, what's a Navy guy doing saluting at the Marine Memorial? Well, Ralph served on transport boats that landed our Marines on Iwo Jima. And he was also in Tokyo Harbor when the surrender was signed by the Japanese.
Wow.
Very sweet man, lives in Costa Mesa, and still golfs every Thursday.
Oh my.
We have women that come on our trip, and I do it for Ruth Huber. Ruth served as a Navy wave in World War II, the Women's Volunteer Corps. She was instrumental in keeping things together on the home front.
Wow. She's sweet.
I do it for guys like Joe Reed. Joe served in the U.S. Marines in Korea. Joe is the typical, stereotypical Marine. He was a tough as nails guy, was wounded multiple times in Korea, went on to have a distinguished career in the LA Fire Department. When he saw the Marine Memorial, he stood there silent for a few minutes and walked back to the bus with tears in his eyes.
Looks very emotional there. Their medal is just beautiful.
Yeah, that was his own that he brought.
Beautiful.
I do it for gentlemen like Lewis Brown, U.S. Army, World War II. Lou was my first guy that I served as a guardian for. He served in the European Theater of Operations as a truck driver. He was one of the famous Red Ball Express drivers. He supplied Patton's Third Army with supplies.
Wow.
He told me that was always a difficult thing to do because they had to drive in the middle of the night with no lights.
Wow, in the
And
desert.
and catching up to Patton was no easy thing because Patton was constantly on the move. And he said he had to get back to base before the sun came up because that's when the German Luftwaffe would come through and light up their columns.
Wow. You heard lots of stories there, huh?
Yes.
Whoa.
I do it for Colonel Marjorie Merrill. Colonel Marjorie is the Air Force's first full-bird female colonel. There is a exhibit dedicated to her at Norton Air Force Base.
Wow.
She served in the Air Force in Vietnam.
Wow.
I do it for Teddy Corral. Teddy served in the U.S. Army in Vietnam. Teddy has made it his mission since coming home from serving to ensure that every veteran get the benefits that are due to them for serving. I do it for my friend Victor Rial. Vic served in the U.S. Marines in Korea. He served in supply. He took an interest in helicopters, so his commanding officer sent him to helicopter school, where he graduated top of his class. After graduating, the commandant from the Marine Corps summoned him to his office, which is like getting summoned by the principal. And Vic was given the task of developing the helicopter transport program for the President of the United States, what we know today as Marine One.
Wow.
Victor was President Eisenhower's first crew chief, and the policies that Victor put in place back in the 50s are still in use today on the Marine One helicopter.
Wow, that's quite a legacy.
Yes. And I do it for Laguna Woods' own John Croce.
Yay, there's John.
John served in the U.S. Navy in Vietnam and had the honor of laying a wreath on our last trip at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
My.
Yeah.
At our last meeting, when you presented, I know John was there with his wife, and
Yes.
he was very grateful.
He was.
And
Very emotional.
And very
it was
emotional.
moving for us too. And we also had another gentleman, Dick Sadler,
Dick, yes.
who also went. So we are just, so
And they rave.
excited.
They say it's the greatest experience of their lives.
Yes.
And they're so thrilled that they did it.
Yeah.
I hope that many, if not all, of the veterans here in Laguna Woods will take advantage of this great opportunity.
Yes.
It's
And
thrilling.
if I could just remind them all that this trip is 100% free for our veterans. Our veterans pay nothing to go on this trip.
They
Great.
just need to go on and fill out a form.
Complete an application, a little bit of patience as we get through our list, but we will take them at some point.
Or call me, but we'll,
Yeah.
we'll help them with
Yes.
that.
Right.
And I do it for every one of our veterans that have worn the uniform of the United States Armed Forces and defended freedom. I have been honored to have been able to interact with all of our veterans that come on the trip. And the thing that strikes me the most is that they all come from diverse backgrounds, from all over the country, all over the social standings. But the one thing that they all have in common is that when freedom and democracy were threatened, they stood up, they stepped forward, and they said, not today. They left their family and they left their friends, and they were sent to places on a map most of us never heard of. They put their lives at risk every day,
Yes.
not for fame, not for recognition. They did it to defend our country.
Yes.
They did it to maintain our way of life so that my generation and my daughter's generation can be free.
Yes.
I serve on Honor Flight Southland to give them the honor and the respect and the gratitude that they deserve.
Yes.
And Honor Flight Southland is just a small way that we could all say to our veterans, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your service.
Yes.
And I thank both of you for having me here today.
Beautifully said, Bryan.
Thank
And
you.
yes, we do. We thank all of our veterans and their family who willingly, selflessly gave of their all. We're just so thrilled to have this tribute and to be supporting Honor Flights ongoing
Yes.
and to look to get more involved and participate in your
Thank
activities.
you
Thank you.
also
So
for
please-
being here
Yeah.
to share with us.
Yeah,
We really
thank
need
you.
this.
Go onto our website, honorflightsouthland.org. You can get more information there. Complete applications on the website. Follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
We're going to be doing a lot more posting as we get closer to the trip. And as we're on the trip, we're going to be doing a lot of posting so that people can follow along almost in real time of what's going on.
Oh, is that
So we have
right?
big
That's
plans
fun.
for our next trip.
Yes,
so
like on
that-
Instagram?
on Facebook and Instagram, we'll be doing
Wow.
live feeds. We'll be doing a lot of
Oh, my.
posting so that you can see what we're up to. So
Wow.
please join us, please follow us, and
Yep.
please come out.
Technology is a wonderful thing.
gotta love
it.
Virtual and sharing the
Yes.
trip in real time on
Yeah.
Facebook. It's fantastic.
It is. Thank you again. Thank you, folks, for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next month. We wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah, and enjoy the blessings of the win of our election and, for our country, for our nation. Thank you, and God bless you all.